Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Got a new Cardfight Vanguard Divinez episode review for you guys today. And today we're covering Season 3, Episode 8, Darkness in Chains. So the big takeaway of this episode is we get to see Suzune go up against Megumi. And spoiler alert, Megumi wins. I went in thinking Megumi was going to lose. You know, Suzune is the new rival type character. Not so much toward Akina, but she was definitely being set up to be a rival to Suo. And Megumi, like Taizo, always ends up losing to everybody. So I went in thinking she was gonna lose, but she surprised me. We got to see a couple new cards for Suzune, a couple new cards, well, a lot of new cards for Megumi. And we're gonna go over what happened in this episode and of course the card fight. So if you guys enjoy this kind of content, drop a like on the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let's jump in and let's start the episode. So the episode kicks off exactly where the last one ended, where everybody showed up at the hotel. We basically have the Divinez crew running into the overdress crew, which is, you know, it's Megumi, Raika, and Suzune. Megumi greets everybody because Megumi knows all them from her card shop. And Akina sees Raika, and Akina's like, that's my next opponent. And he's like, he's the winner of the second Deluxe. And Raika, you know, gives him a little shit because he says his name without proper title, so it's a little impolite. But Megumi invites everybody to go have dinner together. Raika and Suzune turn them down, but Raika tells Akina, let's have a good fight tomorrow. That's something to think about. But they all go over to have some dinner, and we see, already having dinner, some of the will dress characters. And they're all just having a good time, and then the Divinez crew rolls up. They all end up having dinner together. Afterwards, they're all just hanging out at the dinner table, and Akina asks Megumi about Blackout, because they're talking about Blackout. He's like, what kind of team is Blackout? Megumi explains that Team Blackout is her pride and joy, and that everybody comes as they have somewhere to belong. And they talk about it a little more, and they talk about who started Blackout, and they don't mention it. But the only person at the table who knows who is the founder of Blackout is Tomari, but she doesn't mention who it is. But then it cuts over to Kagetsu, so I'm like 90% sure it's Kagetsu. We go over to Suzune, and she's training in her room, practicing to the beat of a metronome, which is a little weird, but she's literally calling cards, attacking, riding, all to the rhythm of the metronome. And she's basically planning out her matchup for when she goes against Megumi. They mention it during the matchup. And as she's going, she pauses and she gets a flashback of Akina asking her, you know, if she was okay after her last matchup, saying that she looks distressed. And then of Senka basically asking her if she's having fun. And she doesn't understand these emotions, at least not when it comes to Cardfight Vanguard. But after that, we go up to the next day, and this part of the episode extremely pissed me off because we basically get the end of a matchup that I really wanted to see, and it was Erika versus Mirai. You guys know I love Mirai; she's my favorite Overdress character, and it's basically just the end, them announcing that Mirai beat Erika. And Erika's ridiculously frustrated because now she's lost 2 games, and she's like, I'm supposed to be, you know, setting up my future here. What am I doing? But I was upset to just not see this fight. Besides the fact that I want to see more of Mirai, that's a matchup I really wanted to see. Right after this, we see Suo approach Suzune. He tries to introduce himself, talk about some of the things he likes, and then he tries asking her what she likes, if she has any hobbies, what kind of food she likes, and she just is like, no, I don't have any hobbies, I don't like anything, I don't have any places to go, and she just gets up and leaves to go to her match. And he stops her and he's like, I used to feel empty inside. And she just says, I don't understand you, and then walks away. But now we jump to the fight. This fight is surprisingly long because it went by super fast, but it's because of Suzune's character, which I thought was cool. Basically, Suzune's character is no bullshit. She don't care about the in-between talk. She don't care about the emotions. She's just here for the squabble. And you know what? Megumi is aggressive enough to match her energy, so they blow through this 8-turn card fight super fast. But let's jump into it. So of course we have our starters. Suzune has Head Up Octover Prota, and Megumi has Silverhorn Beast Lotte. My bad about some of the pronunciations, I'm gonna do my best. So for anybody that's never seen my episode reviews, I don't emphasize their draw for turn or their energy charge 3 because they almost never announce it. Last episode they actually did, I'm sure that was just filler, but this time they don't at all. So just assume that they draw for turn and that they energy charge 3 every turn. But turn 1 is Suzune. Suzune rides Dynamic Exciter Hysteria and uses its skill. Auto, when this unit is placed by riding Head Over Octover Prota, Reveal a grade 3 card with Artisarian's card name from your ride deck. Search your deck for up to 1 sound system card. Reveal it, put it into your hand, shuffle your deck. She adds Shout and Shadow to hand. Turn ends. Turn 2, Megumi rides Blossoming Flowers, Sylvan Horn Beast, Cherish. I hope I got that name right. Megumi uses Lote's skill, her starter. Auto when this unit is rode upon. If you went second, draw a card. Megumi attacks with Cherish. Suzune doesn't guard. Megumi doesn't get a trigger. Suzune takes the first damage of the game. Turn ends. Damage is 1-0 with Megumi in the lead. Turn 3, Suzune rides Witching Vibrato Lifel. I hope I said that right. And uses her skill. Auto when this unit is placed by riding Dynamic Exciter Asteria. Reveal a grade 3 card with Artisarian's card name from your ride deck. Search your deck for up to 1 sound system card. Reveal it, put it into your hand. This time she adds Megaromania. Suzune calls Cooling Heart Yukiya, and we get to see a new card. I'm sure this card has a longer name, but she only says the actual name part of it, which is Luminoel, so no title. And then she uses its skill. Now, I went back and forth in this episode to see if I could figure out what the cost of this card actually was, and I'm fairly certain this card was an Energy Blast 2. Auto, when the unit is placed on rear guard, Energy Blast 2, reveal a grade 3 or greater unit with Artisarian's card name from your hand, and then call a Shadow Army token. However, that token cannot attack this turn, but it can boost. So she calls it to the back row. Suzune attacks with Yuika, Megumi guards. Suzune attacks with Lefel, Megumi guards, and Suzune gets no trigger. Suzune attacks with Luminoel, and Megumi doesn't guard, taking 1 damage. So the end of this turn, the damage is 1-1, so it's even. Turn 4, Megumi rides Mercy Sylvan Hornbeast Latisse and uses Cherish's skill. Auto when this unit is rode upon by a grade 2 card with Sylvan Hornbeast in its card name. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck, choose up to 1 grade 2 or less normal unit from among them, call it to rear guard, and you may discard the rest. There's a reason there's a you may in there. If you did not discard any cards, put the card chosen to the bottom of the deck in any order. Sometimes, this is basically so if you get triggers, you can just put them back to deck, but it's also so you can, you know, get cards in your drop to Superior Call from the drop, because the Sylvan deck does a lot of that. With this skill, Megumi calls Halupoi Lilikoi, yeah, and uses its skill as well. Auto when the unit is placed on rear guard, other than during the battle phase, if you have a Vanguard with Sylvan Hornbeast in its card name, Energy Blast 3, perform one of the following. Either choose a card with Sylvan Hornbeast in its card name and grade less than or equal to your Vanguard from your drop, call it to rear guard. Or if your Vanguard is Sylvan Hornbeast King of Calamity Magnolia Mask, which we're never gonna get to see that effect, but I just put it in there just as part of the effect. Choose a grade 3 or less card with Dragon Tree in its card name from your drop, call it to rear guard. Yeah, she's not playing Magnolia Mask, so that part of the skill is almost irrelevant. But with its skill, Megumi calls a new card called, I'm going to butcher this name, Voldiar. Voldiar? Yeah, I'm assuming this is another Sylvan Hornbeast, considering Halupoi can only call Sylvan Hornbeasts. But Megumi attacks with Halupoi, Suzune guards. Megumi attacks with Latisse, Suzune doesn't guard, and Megumi doesn't get a trigger. Suzune takes 1 damage. Megumi attacks with Voldiar. This one Suzune guards. Turn ends. The damage is now 2-1. Megumi's back in the lead. And now we get the big turns. So now turn 5, Suzune rides Polyphonic Overdrive Artisario. Suzune uses Artisario's skill. For anybody that doesn't remember Artisario's skill from my other review, act Vanguard once per turn, Energy Blast 2, choose a sound system card from your hand or drop, put it into your order zone. If you put a card from your hand, draw a card. With this skill, Suzune sets Shout and Shadow from the drop and uses the skill. Now, I'm only going to mention this part of these order skills because all of Suzune's orders have this skill, so I'm not going to mention it for the rest of the video. But continuous, this card cannot be played and it cannot be put into your order zone other than by the ability of your unit with Artisario in its card name. So you can't just play this card, you have to use Artisario's skill to play it. So basically you only get to play 1 set order a turn. But its other skill, the one that she plays, is auto when this card is put into your order zone, draw a card and call 1 Shadow Army token to rear guard. So Suzune draws a card, she calls a Shadow Army token, and then calls Devilish Flanger Lufer. This is one of Artisario's support cards. Suzune attacks with Lufer, Megumi guards. Suzune uses Yukiya's skill. Auto rear guard at the end of the battle. This unit boosted a rear guard, Soul Blast 1, choose one of the boosted rear guards, return it to hand. And then she combos it with Lufer's skill, because Lufer's skill is when this unit is returned to hand from rear guard during your turn or retired during your turn. If you have a grade 3 or greater Vanguard with Artisario in its card name, counterblast 1 and draw a card. Suzune draws a card with that skill and then attacks with Artisario using Artisario's skill. Auto Vanguard once per turn. When this unit attacks, counterblast 1 and call 1 Shadow Army token to rear guard for each sound system in your order zone. She only has 1. And then all of your front row gets 5k until end of turn for every 2 sound systems in your order zone. She only has 1, so she doesn't get the power boost. But she calls out a Shadow Army token. Megumi doesn't guard the Vanguard. Suzune gets a heal trigger on her twin drive, giving the power to the Shadow Army token and healing 1 damage. So Megumi takes 1 damage. Suzune then attacks with the Shadow Army token. Megumi doesn't guard, taking 1 damage, and then Suzune attacks with Luminoel, and this one Megumi guards. Turn ends, the damage is now flipped. The damage is now 1-3 with Suzune in the lead. Now, we do get a little bit of out of game talk between Suzune and Megumi. It's very, very short, so what I said still stands, where Megumi kind of compliments Suzune's style, where basically she's practiced her moves to death and she already had it planned out how this game would go. We saw her practicing earlier and she is completely damn near robotic as to what's going to go. But then we get to see something cool from Megumi, where she says that she understands Suzune's style, but Megumi's style, what she likes, is fisticuffs. She just wants to bang the ones. And we see Megumi damn near go Super Saiyan as we go into turn 6. And Megumi rides Sylvan Horn Beast Emperor Magnolia Patriarch. This is her new grade 3, and this thing is cool. And it has an odd ride skill. Auto, when this unit is placed on Vanguard, Soul Blast 1 and call a unit from drop. I had to be really meticulous with this one because they never mention any of the costs with some of these cards, so I had to go back and forth to make sure I got all the costs that they do show here and there. But Megumi calls Sylvan Hornbeast Banaspati from the drop with Magnolia's skill, and then uses Banaspati's skill, which is when this unit is placed on rearguard other than during the battle phase, Counterblast 1 and Soul Blast 1, choose one of your Vanguards with Sylvan Hornbeast in its card name, and for every 2 grade of that unit, choose a grade 3 or less card with a different card name from this unit from your drop and call it to rearguard. So obviously she has a grade 3, so she gets to call 1 unit. And she calls Sylvan Hornbeast Golidote. Hope I said that right. Megumi calls another new card called Raigica. Again, we don't get the whole name, but I'm assuming it's another Sylvan Hornbeast. And then we get to see Magnolia's new skill. So this one, again, was another cost I had to go back and forth to figure out, but it's a Counterblast 1. You choose back row rear guards equal to your opponent's grade, and those units can attack from the back row. And then if your opponent's Vanguard is at grade 3, all of your rear guards get plus 5k, and your units can intercept from the back row. That might be 2 separate skills. That might be a continuous skill about your opponent being at grade 3, but they kind of mentioned it all together. Megumi attacks with Magnolia Patriarch first. Suzune intercepts with Luminoel, and we get to see Luminoel's other skill, and this one I really like. So, auto, when this unit is placed on Guardian Circle, you can retire up to 2 Shadow Army tokens, and this unit gets 10,000 shield for each. So she retires one of her Shadow Army tokens, making this a 15k shield. And this isn't just when it intercepts, because she does it later in the game, where she guards with it from hand and uses this skill again. This is awesome, because it gives you an early game, and it gives you a defensive skill. While it does cost energy to call the Shadow Army token, I'll explain how I figured that out on the next turn, but like, this was a very, very solid card, especially since Artisari is a little bit slower going into the game. She needs a little bit more of an early game, so I really like this card. But anyway, Suzune retires one of her Shadow Army tokens, gains 10,000 shield. Megumi gets a draw trigger on her twin drive, giving the power to Hulapoi. Megumi then attacks with Volidar and uses its skill, and its auto, when this unit attacks, it gets 5,000 power, and your opponent cannot intercept for this attack. As far as I could tell, there was no cost for that skill. Suzune doesn't guard and takes 1 damage. I'm assuming you have to be on a Magnolia Vanguard, so that might be the condition. But then Megumi attacks with Banaspati, Suzune guards. Megumi attacks with Golidote, Suzune guards. Megumi then activates Golidote's skill, which is auto back row rear guard. When this unit attacks, it gets 10,000 power until end of that battle. At the end of that battle, if this unit was in the center column, retire this unit, draw a card, which it was in the center column, so she draws a card. Megumi then attacks with the powered up Hulapoi, Suzune guards. Megumi attacks with Raigica and uses its skill to gain 10k. Suzune doesn't guard, takes 1 damage. At the end of the turn, Megumi uses Volidar's skill, which is it goes to Soul, and Megumi draws a card. At this point, Megumi only has 2 cards left in Soul. That's how I kind of figured out what the Soul Blast cost she was using were, because the only Soul Blast she would have used this turn was Banaspati, so Magnolia had to be a Soul Blast cost. But turn ends, and the damage is 3-3, it's even. But now we go into turn 7. This is Suzune's big turn. She Persona rides another copy of Artisaria. Suzune uses Artisaria's skill to set Megaromania and uses its skill. Auto, when this card is put into your order zone, if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater, choose one of your opponent's rear guards and lock it. Suzune locks Hulapoi. Suzune calls Sing to the Sky, Rakoria, and what color is your wish Valshiplan. Sorry if I butchered that one. She uses the Valshiplan skill. Auto when this unit is placed on rearguard. If you persona roll this turn, counterblast one, choose one of your vanguards, and it gets continuous. All of your front will get 5k until end of turn. That card is actually really strong, and it was cool to see her play an actual competitive card in her deck instead of just playing Artisaria support. Suzune then attacks with Valshiplan. Megumi doesn't guard, taking 1 damage. After the battle, they don't announce it, but you can tell by the cost that she plays and the fact that the rear guard's no longer on the board that she uses Yuika's skill to Soul Blast 1 to return the Valshiplan back to hand. Suzune then attacks with Rakuria. Megumi doesn't guard and takes 1 more damage. So now Megumi's at 5. Suzune attacks with Artisaria and uses its skill, this time calling 2 Shadow Army tokens since she has 2 set orders, and now her front row gains 5k. Again, this pissed me off. They don't announce another skill, but she uses Rakuria's skill. Auto, when this unit is returned to hand from rearguard during your turn or retired from rearguard during your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Artisaria and its card name Soul Blast 1, choose one of your units and it gets 5,000 power until end of turn, and she gives it to one of the Shadow Army tokens. Megumi guards the Vanguard with a Perfect Guard. Suzune gets a critical on her Twin Drive and gives the power and critical to one of her Shadow Army tokens. And then Suzune attacks with her Shadow Army token. Megumi guards. So Suzune attacks with her second Shadow Army token, and this time you see Megumi guard and intercept with all of her rear guards. And she also intercepts with the grade 3, so I'm assuming the grade 3 has a skill here that gives it a shield. From what I can tell, it's a 5,000 point shield. So, I mean, still a grade 3 that can gain the 10k power boost and a 5,000 shield on the rear guard, not terrible on a rear guard focused deck. Now, after surviving Suzune's big turn, Megumi is left with 1 card in hand, and it's a Persona Ride. So Megumi is kind of happy. She's like, I'm getting to know you through this card fight. And while Suzune still thinks she's weird, Suzune kind of reacts for the first time since her character's been introduced to what Megumi says about being happy that she gets to know her. All right, so remember how I mentioned Luminoel having an Energy Blast 2 for the cost? They do show Suzune's energy here and there, and we know that Artisaria costs 2 energy. So with the way the math lines up, turn 2 she gets 3 energy. She would have used 2 of them to get the Shadow Army token, leaving her with 1. She goes into turn 3, she has 4. She uses 2 of them for Artisaria, leaving her with 2. The second time she uses Artisaria's skill, she Energy Blast 2 again, leaving her with just 3. So that's how I was able to figure out that it had a cost. But now, into Megumi's last turn. So this is the final turn of the game. Megumi Persona Rides. Megumi uses the skill of Magnolia Patriarch, Soul Blast 1, and she calls it Genosla from the drop. Megumi then uses Golidote's skill from the drop, which I didn't even know it had a drop zone skill. Auto drop when your Vanguard with Magnolia's card name is placed during your ride phase. If your soul does not have a Silver Horn Beast Golidote, put this card into your soul. Just one of your Vanguards gets 5,000 power till end of turn. Megumi then uses the skill of the Energy Generator, Energy Blast 7, and draw a card. This is legit because the only Energy Blast skill that Megumi has used all game was Hulapoi. So she's at 9 energy right now. Megumi then calls Silver Horn Beast Cyril and a second Genosla and a Sylvan Horn Beast Jackalope, which is actually a critical trigger. So she's blowing out her hand, she's going for game here. Megumi uses Magnolia's skill, Counterblast 1. So all 3 of her rear guards can attack in the back row, and then she also applies Cyril's skill, which apparently is continuous. While it's on the field, if you have a grade 3 Vanguard with Magnolia's card name, your Persona Ride also increases the power of your back row. Now this is where things get kind of crazy. It turns out, they talk about it, this is kind of a bad matchup for Artisaria, because Artisaria locks the front row and it cuts down the number of attacks. But because Magnolia attacks from different parts of the board, she still has to deal with a 5 attack turn as opposed to a 6 attack turn. Where normally against decks like Raziel, against decks like Gandiva, they either restand rearguards or recall rearguards. But because the attacks are spread around the board, it's kind of the weak spot of Artisaria's luck. But Megumi attacks with Magnolia and activates another skill. Auto, if you Persona roll this turn, this unit gets +1 drive. This one surprised me. So Magnolia, the new Magnolia can get triple drive if you Persona rolled, which is awesome. Suzune guards with Yuika and another Luminoel from the hand, and then uses its skill, retire 2 Shadow Army tokens, and gets 20,000 shield. I wanted to make sure I had mentioned this because of the fact that she uses this Luminoel from the hand. So we know that it can be intercept to use its skill or guard from hand, which you guys know I love. Why I had that problem with the Alden card, it was only on intercept. Megumi gets a critical trigger, giving the power and the critical to Genosla, and then she also gets a draw trigger, giving the power to Sorol. Megumi attacks with the Genosla, uses its skill. Auto back row rear guard. When this unit attacks, counter blast 1, choose one of your other rear guards and it gets this unit's power until the end of turn. So she adds 35k power from this Genosla to her other Genosla. This one, Suzune guards with the perfect guard because it's already huge. Megumi then attacks with the Sorol. Suzune doesn't guard. Suzune's already saying, if I don't figure something out, I'm gonna lose. Suzune takes 1 damage, but she gets a damage trigger, so she gives 10,000 power to Artasaria. So can she guard? Megumi attacks with her second Genosla, uses its skill, and gives 60,000 power to her critical trigger, Jackalope. Suzune doesn't guard, takes 1 damage. She is now at 5. Megumi attacks with the strongest critical I have ever seen in my entire time of playing Cardfight Vanguard, and damn near goes Super Saiyan and channels her inner Broly here. And Suzune cannot guard and takes 1 damage, going to 6, and the game is over with Megumi winning. Like I said, I was surprised. I thought Megumi was going to get folded. Suzune is straight up in shock that she just lost to Megumi. But Megumi tells her, starts talking. She's like, my ideal card fight, is putting all your emotions on the line, giving it your all, and having a real fight against your opponent. And then she asks Suzune, what kind of card fight do you like? And Suzune goes to tell her, but then we see the chains of her upbringing hold her back, and she kind of sinks back into herself. And Megumi says, you know what, next time we meet each other, I want you to tell me. Suzune walks away, and she gets chastised by her mother. And she's like, Cardfight Vanguard's not about fun, it's all about winning. And if you can't win, you're nothing. And she's like, I thought I told you that. We go over to Blackout. They're all celebrating because Megumi got her first win. Everybody's happy. And then we see Suo and, Akina in the crew. And Suo basically asks Akina, how do I become Suzune's friend? Because I want to be Suzune's friend and I want you to show me how to do it properly. So that was cute. Kuon gets a little bit jealous, I think, or surprised. But then we see the boy Raika, and he is locked the F in. And all he's saying is, he's thinking about Akina's last card fight. He's like, it doesn't matter who I'm up against. I just have to do the same thing I always do and just win. So next week, we have Akina versus Raika. We're going to probably get some new Youthberg support. And that's exciting because Youthberg hasn't had love in a little bit. But guys, that's going to be it for this episode review. This episode was fun. I actually enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. They blew through this card fight, and seeing the new potential of Magnolia, I'm pretty happy with it. They did a good job with this one. Let me know about your thoughts on the episode down in the comments, guys. If you guys want to see me play some Cardfight Vanguard live, I will be streaming this week, Wednesday, 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, I would love to have you guys. But if you guys want to check me out on social media, those links will be down below. That's it for me. I'll catch you guys on this video. Later.
In my eyes, I was born for this. I got demons on my side, you and I like this. I got reason to believe, found meaning from my gifts. Only I can change the world and it go like this.